So in biology, we look at metabolic reactions. First thing which you need to know is how to define them. So metabolic reactions are simply the sum total of all chemical reactions in a living organism. Sum total meaning total number or combined number of all the chemical reactions which take place inside a living organism. Meaning that this can be in either plants or animals. So there are just two types of metabolic reactions: anabolic reactions and catabolic reactions, of which we need to know how to define them also. So we can define anabolic reactions as those reactions in which there is building up of large molecules from smaller molecules. The best example which we have is photosynthesis in plants, of where you're going to have smaller molecules like carbon dioxide and water forming a large molecule like the glucose molecule and a byproduct which is oxygen. The best way to present this is using the diagram there, of which we have two rectangles combining to form a bigger rectangle. So you're going to have buildup of a large molecule from smaller molecules. That's anabolic reaction. And as for catabolic reactions, they're the opposite of anabolic reactions. For these, you find that they're reactions which involve the breakdown of large molecules into smaller molecules. Best example is respiration. You find that in respiration, you're going to have a large molecule, which is a glucose molecule, being broken down into carbon dioxide and water. And the diagram there shows a large rectangle there being broken down into smaller rectangles, which is the same concept there of a large molecule breaking down into a smaller molecules. Yes. So you need to know that all the chemical processes which we talked about, the anabolic, catabolic reactions, all these they take place within cells. So you need to know what is a cell. A cell is simply the basic structural and functional unit of a living organism. So it's the smallest structure of an organism which can maintain its function, which can perform its function just as it is. So basic structural and functional unit of a living organism. Then there are two types of cells: plant cells and animal cells. You need to know the structures of these two types of cells. So on our left we have an animal cell, then on the right we have a plant cell. So there are three things which both of these have in terms of the structure. There's the nucleus, the cytoplasm, and the cell membrane. These three are found in both animal cells and plant cells. So in the exam, when they ask, or just in tests, when they ask at which three structures are common in both plant and animal cells, you mentioned the nucleus, cytoplasm, and the cell membrane. These are also known as the protoplasm, which is the living part of the cell. Then, there are certain structures which are only found in plant cells, and these include the chloroplast, the vacuole, and the cell wall. These are only found in plant cells. So if they ask you for a difference or differences in the structures of a plant cell and animal cell, you talk about these same three. You say that an animal cell does not have a vacuole while a plant cell has a vacuole. You also say that an animal cell does not have a cell wall while a plant cell has a cell wall. You also mentioned that an animal cell does not have chloroplasts while a plant cell has a chloroplast. So those are some of the differences which you can mention. I think mainly they ask you for differences between a plant cell and an animal cell, you use the same structural differences which have been mentioned. So we look at the functions of these same parts of cells. First part which we're going to look at is the cell wall, which is only found in plant cells. So we find that the cell wall is the outermost part of a plant cell. Being the outermost part of the plant cell, it protects the cell from damage and also gives shape to the cell. That's why you find that most plant cells, let me say all plant cells, have a regular shape. The reason for that is because of the same cell wall. It gives shape to the cell. The next one which we're going to look at is the cell membrane, of which in a plant cell it's the one which immediately follows the cell wall, the inner part of the cell wall inside. Then for an animal cell, that's the first layer. So for the cell membrane, one thing which you need to know is that it is selectively permeable. To be permeable means that it allows things inside. To be selective means that it chooses. So when they say it's selectively permeable, it means that it allows certain substances inside while not allowing others. Then, because of this same function, it's able to control substances that enter and leave the cell. So that's a function. Controls the substances that enter and leave the cell. Then, for the cytoplasm, which mainly contains water and dissolved substances, what you need to know is that it is a site for all the chemical processes in a cell. All the chemical reactions in a cell take place in the cytoplasm. So that's a function. So we look at the other structures of the cell, starting with the nucleus. So for the nucleus, it controls all cell activities. By cell activities, it's the same as cell processes, which include respiration, protein synthesis, and cell division. So it controls when these same processes are going to happen. That's a function of the nucleus. It also contains the deoxyribonucleic acid, which we all know is DNA. That's just the full name, deoxyribonucleic acid. Then the shortened version is DNA. Another structure of the cell is the vacuole. This one is only found in plant cells. For it, its function is that it stores sugar and salt. That's the function. Storage of sugar and salts. Take note. Then the next one is also found in only plant cells. It's the chloroplasts. For them, they absorb light energy needed for photosynthesis. So because they're able to absorb light energy needed for photosynthesis, they act as a site for photosynthesis. That's where it takes place. So if they were to ask the function of the chloroplast, you say that they're a site for the process of photosynthesis. Site meaning the place where it happens. Yes. So they're a site for photosynthesis. And this is all because they contain a green pigment called chlorophyll. So take note of that.